welcome you to another edition of Game Time Today, a player sit down here on Game Time TV, the Game Time TV YouTube channel, and perhaps in game intermission. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to slide one of these in the intermission or not, or just leave it for the YouTube channel. That's up for me to decide at another point. My guest here on this one from the Silvertips is Kelsey Forrest. Kelsey, welcome to, I guess, well, I've interviewed you after the game, but
Yeah.
it's only been about 5 minutes. Welcome to these long form chats. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just getting ready for the playoffs.
Oh, yes.
Trying to figure out who finishes where. Tell you what, I've been in this league 13 years, 12 hockey seasons. I've never gone into the last three games not having an ounce of a clue who's gonna finish where. It's quite something. We'll get into that. Your time on the ice and how you feel the season's gone. I'll start it off with this one. Obviously, you're with the Silvertips. We
Mhm.
do know one thing about your hockey team. You have clinched the first round bye. The
Yes, we
question
have.
is it the two seed or the one seed? You will know going into your final regular season game what you have to do to one, get the bye, two, or sorry, get first place, or is second place going to be the scenario? You come into this week at 1 point back of the Western Predators, who you just dispatched 3-0 as a team, extremely short-handed. On the broadcast, I referred to it as probably your most impressive effort of the season, given all of the circumstances. Just maybe that's where we'll start. How
Mhm.
do you feel that that game went now on Sunday night, a 3-0 victory? Oh, sorry, Saturday night. Saturday night, Sunday night. I can't remember. But how do you feel that went for your team? It was Saturday night. Now I remember.
Yes.
Thursday, Saturday. How do you feel that went for your team? And the B part, how tired were you guys after the game?
Well, I was just like stoked that we could clinch that win just because we were kind of in a little bit of a drought for a while there and then we were coming back up. We needed this confidence. We needed the confidence going into our last game. And so I just felt like we were very resilient and we just stayed as a team and as a unit and we just everything that we've been working on in practice and the other games, we just came together. And with being so short, I think our short shifts definitely came in handy. And our speed as well, I think, was a very, very strong suit, I guess I could say.
So you guys play a very difficult style in my mind, but requires a lot of skating, a
Hmm.
lot of positional defense. How have you, at least that's what I see from a broadcaster standpoint,
Yeah.
relying a lot on team speed and defense without, getting into state secrets or anything. How does that benefit you personally?
I think that benefits me personally because I've always played my game with speed. I've always played wide to the outside, drive to the net, hardworking. That's always been my type of game. And so coming in with like a team who also sees that kind of similarities and us being a very fast team, I think that's definitely just benefited us as a group as well. Because every other team just plays very like strategic. They have their passing. They're very great teams and everything, but with our speed, I think we're unmatchable.
So we'll come back to that in a minute because I want to kind of start at the beginning with you. Um, where did you play before the Junior Women's League, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, in my senior year of high school, so that was actually last year, I was the captain of the Oak Park girls team, Oak Park High School.
Okay, so the Raiders, and I believe they played out of where was it, Iroquois?
Iroquois, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought so. That was the Charleswood area.
Yes, yeah.
Um, what did that? Now, obviously, you're not a captain this year, but you were a captain last year. Um, what did that mean to you going into your grade 12 season?
It was a very special year for me. I mean, it's really sad moving from high school and like living all these last kind of memories. You know, it's gonna be your last high school season. You know, it's gonna be the last time that I ever play with any of those girls. Much of them were younger than me. Um, so yeah, it was just kind of like holding on to every last thing. We got out first round, so that kind of sucked, but it was very special moment.
So what was your mindset in the summer? Did you know about the MWJHL, or what were you kinda thinking in that regard? 'Cause I can't even imagine, like, I'm trying to picture myself in 2010 being in grade 12, going into, my first year university. What does that look like? And I couldn't even begin to imagine, what my athletic scenario would have looked like. Did you have a plan after high school, or did that all kinda come together the way it came together?
That was kind of the struggle for me was figuring out what I wanted to do after high school, if I wanted to continue playing hockey or not. I knew that my love and my passion for the sport was still there, and I actually heard about this league from my friend the previous year because she's in this league and she was older, and she said how she always just talks so highly of this league and said that it would be great for me to continue into it. It's a very competitive league, but doesn't require as much time, I guess you would say. It's just the 1 or 2 games on the weekend, which I also loved about it, but you still get that competitive nature and just seeing how close we all are in standings, like it clearly comes through. So I was a bit unsure with school at first how that was going to work, but I mean, there's no better way to just try it out and see if it's for me, and I think it is.
So fast forward, I know you kinda just answered that question. There's the line that usually comes out of it, and they say the rest is history. Would it be fair to say, the rest is history, the way you've kinda fit into that team and the way things are going this year?
Oh, 100%. I This team was amazing fitting into Silvertips.
So, tell me about your tryouts. What do you remember about that way back in September?
I remember tryouts being exhausting, first off, because how short we were, for girls. I remember there being 5 forwards and tryouts on my team, so
Oh
it's really
boy.
exhausting, but I knew at that point, like, I just had to show all the coaches and everyone, all the spectators watching that effort is kind of the game that I play and speed, and I just had to do the best that I could.
Do you feel that being short players benefited you personally as far as maybe getting looked at?
I think so. Yeah, 100%. Just because that was obviously gives you more ice time, so I was on the ice more. I also got to kind of fill in positions as well. So I wasn't just playing forward, we were playing defense. We were kind of all shuffling around just to accommodate us being so short. And for that, I think that the coaches could also see that kind of other skills that they wouldn't normally see if there was a full bench.
So, what was your mindset? Because I mean, the tryouts are Saturday, Sunday, Monday. By Monday, you have to have a pretty good indication on how your first two skates went. What was your mindset kind of as the weekend went along?
As the weekend went along, I was kind of just getting more confident in where I was being because I mean the skill level from high school to this league is very different. It's definitely a lot faster, and you kind of have to catch on to that quickly. So that first tried on the Saturday, I was pretty gassed. But after that, I was trying to just get my bearings and see how the specific people on my team were working, and um, I just had to really, I guess, just put my best skills out there, and I had to just catch on very quickly that it was a different skill level.
This might be a weird question to ask, but I have no other way to ask it. Did you feel the need to refine your game between states? You know, if you're not necessarily gonna, and then this might just be an example, not necessarily pertaining to you, but if a player feels that they can't necessarily keep up to the speed of the game, there's probably other things they can do to help, get noticed in that way. Did you feel the need to maybe have to refine your game as the weekend went along, or how did you view that?
I've always just gone with like the hard working route because I know like coaches can see that. And so that's kind of where I was like, this hard work is going to pay off all weekend if I'm just consistent with it. And because I normally do try to use my speed a bit more, I definitely did have to tune that back a little bit so I didn't burn myself out, I guess, before the tryouts were done. So I did kind of try different things I wouldn't normally do, and a lot more passing, using teammates, different type of strategies like that, different zone entries. Yeah.
So tell me about the Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. You lay it all on the ice. You are now waiting. What was your mindset? Because there was not necessarily a lot of spots. Some teams had more spots than others. Some had two or three, others had five or six openings. You as a player have no idea, where all the openings are and what that looks like. Quite honestly, it's a bunch of people locked in a room until they figure out the teams. But I can't imagine, what you're thinking leading up to that. What was kind of your mindset? I mean, you probably have to tell yourself, "Hey, I did a good job." The rest is kind of gonna have to fall where it falls.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, of course, I was stressed out. Of course, I was. So I was kind of just trying to distract my mind, do other things. But at the same time, I was also asking friends that I have in the league. I was trying to scope around where openings were, and I did speak to a couple of the coaches in tryouts. So I think that kind of had my brain a little bit more at ease. And then again, just talking to parents, friends, everything, just being able to just express that I'm kind of stressed out, and then them tell me that it's going to be okay. You put your best effort forward, you put your best foot forward, and that's all you can do. And you kind of just have to leave it at that.
So the phone call, text message, email comes sometime Wednesday night, Thursday morning, whenever it came in. What was your initial reaction?
Again, my email was or my text message was very, very late on, I think, the Thursday it was. So I already had friends like texting me where they were, and then so the panic was starting to set in, and I was kind of starting to get all nervous. And then finally the text came in, and it was just instant relief. And I actually did talk to Ryan in tryouts, and it was really happy. I was like texting some of my friends on the team already. It was very exciting.
Just tell me about the first practice. I speak to a lot of rookies who say it's like walking into a new school. You know very little people. Uh, Potentially elementary to middle school or middle school to high school. There's people that have been there. That's kind of the comparison that I like to make. There's people that have been there for 2 to 3 years. There's people that have been there. Well, it's their first practice along with you. What were your expectations going into that first practice?
Well, that was exactly it. It was kind of just like walking fresh into high school. You don't really know where you're gonna belong, like who you're gonna go talk to. You kind of don't have that safety person. Lucky enough for me though, I actually met two girls that are on my team, two of the rookies that in tryouts that were on my team as well. And we just got to talking and we kind of clicked right away. So that was super helpful. And then I also did know someone else on the team. I played on a previous hockey season with them. So that was super, super nice. So I kind of clung with them for a little bit. But that first practice, everyone was super, super welcoming. And like our team just bonded so quickly. Um, and they were just all super, super nice.
So, from what you can share, Amelia Martin is your captain.
Yes.
Do you remember your first conversation with her?
Oh, I think
Just
her
just
first.
just just for what you can share, because I mean, I know Amelia, the type of person she is for a couple of years already. I'm just wondering if you remember that first conversation at all.
I actually do remember the first conversation. We had like a little kind of players meeting, all of us. We went into the coach's room, and as we were coming out, and like we tried some apparel on, all that stuff. And as we were coming out, she goes, "I really like your tights." And like my pants, and I was like, "Oh, thank you." Like, and it was just like right from there, it kind of just loosened the air and everything. And yeah, it was super sweet, I thought.
So your team starts 8-1-1. You think things are gonna go easy. What went so well so early in the year for you guys?
Um, I think it would just be like that. initial bonding that we all felt. The vets were just really open to being like to talking to us and not having like that barrier between the ages, which I've never really not had on a team before. So I think that was really good. I think all of us rookies coming in, we were just very confident and excited to be on a new team. So just like the adrenaline, we were very confident in each other. Just in practice, I was always like, "Oh, she's doing really well. Like this is gonna go good." So I think we just had that initial confidence spike.
Then you guys hit the skids. It's not one game, not 2 games, not 4 games, not 6 games, but 7-1 or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Um, I can't imagine that felt too good, um, as a team and personally. Just how difficult was that stretch looking back on it?
It was really hard. Like it just really got my confidence down as a player individually and as a team. I think it kind of just really broke our confidence. It was also kind of like the realization like, oh, like we do have to really like push now and like this is the point where it's either you can keep going as we were going or we could kind of excel from there. And I'm really happy that we took the positive route for that and that we started excelling. But that felt like extremely low, but also very coming back from it seems very like uncharacteristic of us now. Like sometimes I'll think back and I'll be like, what happened?
Yeah, like, that was my initial thought. It's like you guys are 8-1-1 or 7-1-1, and this losing streak is hitting, 6, 7 games, and I'm going, how did this team forget to play hockey? Because that's what it looked like. It wasn't just a, win for, lose for. This was, you know, immediate high to, I don't wanna say crash landing, but something close to it. Um, Tell me about that Stars game. That was the last game of your losing streak. It was the last game of the tournament. You guys lose that one very, very late, but I think there were some positive signs coming out of that game that you guys were pretty close to turning that around.
Yeah, that game, it's actually funny enough that we were really short that game as well, and, like, in the change room, the energy was just so there for that game, we were hungry for that win, and I think just, like an individual switch in each of our minds just flipped and we're like, "We need to do this. We need to win this game," and even though we didn't, there's a lot of positives that came out of it, like, our passing, I remember, was really great that game, our communication was really great, not only that, but just, like, the energy on the bench. Everyone was, communicating with each other, we were talking about strategies on the bench that we could try, just, like, chipping the puck, stuff like that to get it out, and you could tell that we all wanted it that game.
So, taking a break from hockey for just a little bit, because I'm going to come back to the last 3 games, which has just been absolutely remarkable. It's like nothing ever happened.
Mhm.
Um, what does Kelsey like to do outside of hockey?
Outside of hockey, a lot of studying. Not saying that I love it, but no, it's good. I'm in science right now, so that obviously comes with all the extra work after it and studying. Um, the gym is my second home as well, just trying to get stronger for hockey. And it's just like a nice kind of clarity, peace of mind. Um, I always kind of think like when your body's healthy, like your mental state's also healthy. So
How would you how would you define your game this year?
my game this year, effort. Effort as always. I always will give it 110. If that's not working, I'll give it 120. That's always been my game as a smaller player as well. You know that you're not always going to be the strongest on the ice. You're not always going to be the fastest, the necessarily have the best hands, anything like that. So I think just effort going into those corners and mentally just saying like you're going to win this, put your effort into this. You're going to like you can do this. Um I would say that's my biggest game is effort.
So, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was kind of thinking about this today in the lead up to talking about it. And, you are a smaller, shorter player. And I was thinking about, historically, the league has had terrific success with shorter smaller players and how they've been able to kind of refine their game to have success.
Mhm.
So the league has been very. There's been a lot of players such as yourselves that have been in the league in the past that have had great success. Was there a moment for you where it was like, oh, you know what? I may have played high school, but yeah, I can play here.
There was for sure a little switch there as well. Coming from high school, I found that I was a lot stronger in high school just coming because before then I was coming from Rangers, and some other higher leagues, so I had that kind of advantage over people in high school. And then coming into this league, I was like, okay, I'm playing with girls who are 3, 4 years older than me. Like this this isn't going to be able to work anymore. And so I kind of had to dial it back in that aspect and switch it to the speed, my game of speed, and effort back checking, forechecking, just putting it all out there.
You were the captain of the Old Park Raiders in your last year, like you mentioned. What did that mean to you going out your senior season as the captain of that team?
It was really special to me, just seeing that, like, my team recognized me as a leader, and not only that off the ice, but on the ice, it just meant that I kinda could have these other connections with, like, even the refs and talking to them and being the kind of person who my coaches would go to or my teammates would go to if something wasn't feeling right, and I could kind of, help come up with a solution to solve that. So just being captain showed me a lot about myself and my personality that, you know, I do have those qualities.
Is it an adjustment to come from a room where you are a captain to now be without a ladder? I mean, people say, you know what, you can lead without a ladder. A ladder is just a ladder. You can be your own leader the way you want to be. But was there an adjustment period off of that?
For sure, I believe like letter or no letter, like it's just your leadership, your natural capabilities. But coming in without a letter and being a lot younger than everyone, you kind of fit into your role and like know your place. So obviously, you're not going to be going and screaming to lead for warm up or anything like that, which it's totally okay. Um, But I also think it just gave me a better ability to just go into the dressing room more confident on that first couple practices and talk to these people, um, all these new girls that I've never met before. But of course, there are certain characteristics and spots that you kind of have to dial it back a bit and just let the leaders, like with the actual letters, take their role.
Is it, and this may be a funny question, but I've talked to a lot of athletes who say, yeah, you know what, it's my responsibility to lead whether I have a ladder or not. I can be you know, just to tie it to kind of your example, I can be, a leader amongst the rookies and be a quiet leader without necessarily needing a ladder. Was that kind of your mindset, or how do you view that whole kind of scenario? Because it is a bit of a step. I don't want to say it's a demotion because that's not what it is. Because you come to a new team at a higher level. But how do you view that? You can be a leader for your rookie group, for your group, and lead without necessarily having a ladder, but knowing what is your time and place to maybe say something, or as you say, dial it back a bit.
Mhm. Yeah, I would definitely say there's not like a leader among the rookies, but there's definitely just like different, like there's the group of rookies of course, and we all just kind of know our role again, and we just kind of keep more to ourselves when those leadership roles do come up. And again, I think we can be like those silent leaders as well. I know also lots of the other rookies did have the assistant and captain roles as well. So I think all of us just collectively, like, we don't really see anyone with a letter as necessarily like the leader or like better than anyone. We just see it as another person who, yeah, they have excellent leadership qualities.
The word that comes to mind when I look at your team is, well, multiple words: tight knit family. Is that accurate?
100%. When we don't have a game on the weekend, we're still hanging out, our entire team.
Entire team.
Yes, like we one weekend we didn't have a hockey game, and so we just all went to someone's house and we hung out. Another time we would we go out after our games sometimes, and there's never one person not included. It's always making plans in the group chat.
What does that mean for you, and how eye-opening is that for you as a rookie, especially early on?
I thought that it was kind of all the vets just like welcoming us with open arms. Like it was, oh, I don't have to go out and try to make these plans with all these older people, because sometimes that can be more intimidating. Whereas they kind of took that intimidation aspect away and were very welcoming about it, so we didn't have to feel out of place asking.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, right? Because it's like, yeah, and for those that don't know, you could be an 18-year-old rookie now playing with a 22-year-old overage player. And that gap, well, it may not seem like a lot, can be a lot, both
Mhm.
in skill and in walks of life. Um, just quickly, Kelsey, I opened the floor up to viewer questions. There was a couple of them that came in that I thought were pretty good.
Mhm.
One of them was, who did you look up to growing up? And I'm assuming this means athlete wise. Was there an athlete that you looked up to growing up? But you said, yeah, and I want to be a lot like that person.
The one person I would probably say that about and that I can, like, distinctly remember was actually Simone Biles, which is funny because it's not a hockey player. I didn't watch, like, that much hockey growing up because I was always playing it, but I looked up to Simone Biles because she was always a smaller athlete, and people
Hmm.
kinda distinctly knew her as the smaller athlete, and she was just with gymnastics being such a, like, mentally exhausting sport and physically draining, and I also did gymnastics when I was younger. She was kind of my idol, like, you can kinda do anything despite your height, despite whatever else is going on, like, you can do this if you set your mind to it.
So the other one that came in is, you guys are in a battle for first place. Has championship crossed your mind at all, or is it the one game at a time mindset?
Championship game, of course, crosses my mind all the time. I mean, how can it not?
Well,
But
at least we finally have an athlete openly admitting that they do think about it, which
of
is the which
course
is
it
the
does. Yeah, no, of course it does, just because, like, that's the goal that everyone strives for. You play your entire season to get to that point and to solidify your team at that point. But in order to get there, you kind of have to break it down into these from this long-term goal to break it down into these short-term goals. And those short-term goals for sure are taking each practice at a time, taking each game at a time, taking each rest day at a time as well.
Um, really quickly, because I know you gotta get to practice here, so I'll end off with a couple more, and
Okay.
that is, what is something that you've learned about yourself? I mean, we're sitting here, a game away from playoffs. You have one more game against the Northern Stars on Sunday night. What is what's one thing February Kelsey would have told September Kelsey, having a chance to maybe go back and, have a conversation?
I would probably tell September Kelsey to just keep going and to take it one step at a time because hockey's been a great escape for everything, but obviously there's other things that go on behind the scenes and everything, and that can also play such a huge role in how you are playing in your game. So I would just say just to keep going, take it one step at a time, take a breather if you need to. Yeah.
Not a three-game win streak. I don't think it needs to be said. I hesitate saying this. I will take no responsibility if and when this happens. Three straight shutouts for your team. It's kind of unprecedented for this point in the season. Courtney Martel started with you guys this year. Has been away from for a while. Katrina Johnston, two straight shutouts. Brooke decides to join the party on Saturday night with a terrific performance.
Yeah.
What has it been in these last three games that has allowed you guys to kind of go back to that September, October, November style of game?
I would just say that we've regained that confidence, I guess. we kind of, when we were sinking there for a little bit, it was really hard not to get down, not to get negative and everything. But just being able to build ourselves back up. And again, just this team bonding that we've had in this last little bit, I think has solidified our game and our confidence and our ability in each other. And just being able to say, like, you know what, stuff happens. If it happens, we move on from it. And we'll just look the other way, look for the positives.
One game left in the season. You guys will know what you're playing for Sunday night. It could be first, it could be second. Does your team have a preference?
Um, Obviously we want to become first. I mean, that's like the goal for your regular season champs. That would feel pretty good. Um, and in practicing for that, like first or second, that's a great way to put kind of that pressure and the stress that we could feel if we get to that championship games in the finals. So I think we're gonna go for one.
Two more. Is it possible to practice the way you play the way you practice?
Is it possible?
Yeah, how do you view that? Because speaking to your coaches and they like a lot of what you guys have been doing in practice. Is it has that been sort of the foundation for this style of game?
For sure. I mean, if you every time you're stepping foot into the rink and you're gonna say, "This is what I'm gonna implement into my game. This is how I'm gonna play my game." Chances are that's your style that you're gonna take into your game. We've really been working on our regroups, our breakouts, and you can just see that clearing up in our games. So I think that mentality of practice how you play how you practice is really important, especially for our team. Just again with speed.
Last question. Somebody's in grade 12, they're taking the year off hockey, they think they want to get back into it, or they think they want to continue. As a current player in the MWJHL, make the sales pitch on why they should come play with you on your team, hopefully, maybe, or more likely in the league in general.
Well, I would say come join our team because of the positive experience that I've had. There's not one person that doesn't make you feel welcome ever. They all welcomed us with open arms, and I think just having that sense of community and playing with other people is just really good to stay into, especially coming into when you're 18, 19, 20, because you do lose a lot of those people that you once talked to in high school, and it's a great way to stay connected to people, make new friends. I've made so many friends on this team that I wouldn't have had before. And they're not just friends, they're quality friends that I would consider some of my best friends. And if you're not wanting to join Silvertips and just the league in general, it's a really good league to stay into hockey. Being myself, I was hesitant at first to join the league, and you will never hear one girl come out of this league ever that says don't do it.
Last question. 12 days away, your playoff opener. What comes to mind when I say that?
Scared and nerves for sure. There's a lot riding on the line. I mean, this is everything that we've worked for the entire season. But as it comes closer, it kind of just makes me excited as well. Like, I wouldn't want to go to finals with any other team but this team that I'm on. It's been one of the best teams I've ever been on, just with like the sense of community, support, just love for one another. So it makes me really, really excited that I am on this team and I get the privilege of going to championships with them.
Well, Kelsey, it's been great getting to know you the last half an hour, 40 minutes. I know I kept you longer than I bargained for. I appreciate it. Best of luck in your last game here on the weekend and in the playoffs. We'll catch up as the playoffs go on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Kelsey Forrest, kind enough to join us. That is this week's edition of Game Time Today. My player sit down with Kelsey Forrest. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.